If you're watching the replay, you can just put your question inside the comments and I will be sure to address them either directly with you or in our next video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right on in. So Google Forms, it can be found forms.google.com. What I like to do is bookmark it. So I have it bookmarked here on my bar. You can also find it from your drive. If you click on your drive and you go over here to new, go down to more, and there you have your Google Forms as well. So those are a number of ways you can actually access your Google. All right, just wanted to make sure that I had the Facebook open in case anyone has any questions while we are live. So by default, it will bring up this very basic screen where you can give yourself a title. We're going to call this, we're just going to call this a sample quiz. Okay, and you can go ahead and do that. If you want to put more information here, you can. You can also add an image to your quiz if you would like to. Make sure you check to make sure that you've given it a title there so that it goes to your drive and has a title so you can find it later. And just a couple of things that you should know about this platform. Here you can customize the themes. So if you want to change the colors to a different color scheme, you can do that. Okay. If you want to choose an image for your header, you can choose that image there. And again, I'm going to quickly hop over into my Canva because I'm going to just create a really quick header. I'm going to search for, I'll just call it my Google Classroom header. And it will give me the right dimensions. If you want to use any of these that are here, let's say I'm going to grab that template and I'm just going to put in here sample quiz. Okay, let's go ahead and download that image. And if you want to learn more about using Canva, make sure you go and check out our Canva and BITMOJI video. Okay, so now I'm back in my Forms app. I'm going to click choose image and I want to upload. So just go right here and drag and drop that image I just created and downloaded in Canva. Okay. Click done. And there you have it. Now, if you notice, the background and everything also changed colors. What Google does by default is it will pick up some of the colors that are present in your image and it will go ahead and make the adjustments to your theme, but you can change it. If I want my background color to be white, maybe I want it to be the pink theme. There's blue, there's gray. So these are just the suggestions that they have. I'm going to just leave it at pink. And then over here, it has a couple of different fonts, not very many, for you to utilize. Okay, so this is the basic, this is the decorative, formal, and playful. Okay, I'll leave it at playful since it's a sample quiz. I'm going to go ahead and close out that window. So that is the customize your themes if you want to preview, and this just allows you to see what people would see who are viewing your form. You have that. Okay, you can just close that window. Here are your settings, and this is where you can customize a couple of things. So under general, if you want your students to use their email address to sign in, then you can do that. You can also check to the response receipt. That way they'll know that you have received their responses. Do you want to limit the students to sign in only once? So this is, if it's a quiz, you probably want to do that unless they have the opportunity to go back in and change their answers. Can students edit after they submit? Can they see a summary? So we don't want to do those because we want to limit it just one and done, okay? You can show a progress bar. That way students know that they're making progress. You can shuffle the order that the questions are asked, okay? And you can customize your message. Thank you for submitting your quiz. You can say grades will be updated in Google Classroom on Monday morning. Because oftentimes students want to see how their quiz grade impacts their overall class grade. Okay, let's see. Oh, sorry, go back to settings. So that was under presentation. And then if you're making it a quiz, if you want this to be a quiz, we're going to check yes. Do you want to release their grade immediately after each submission, or do you want to do their grade later on after you personally review the quiz? So for now, this is just going to be a basic quiz. I'm going to have the students be able to see it. They can see what questions they missed. They can see what the correct answers are, and they can see what the point is for each question. So those are all options that you can go ahead and customize. So I'm going to save that now. Over here would be once you're done and you are ready to share this quiz, you can email it to your students. You can copy the link and email it to your students. If you have a website and you want to embed the quiz directly onto your website, you can do there. And then of course you have the options to share via Facebook and Twitter. Okay. If you want to add a co-teacher or someone to be able to edit the quiz, you can do that here as well. And then these are just some more settings that you have. You can make a copy of the quiz in case you want to make a couple different versions of it, move it to the trash. Again, you can add collaborators if there's any add-ons and any preferences you may have. Okay, so for now, we're just going to leave everything standard, everything default. You notice here, it keeps track of the total points of your quiz. So we're just going to make this a simple 5-question sample quiz. Over here, it's sort of like your toolbar. You can use this to add a question. So if you wanted to add all your questions up front, you can do that to add another question, 2, so that's 3 questions, 4, that's 5 questions there. Also, if you want to import questions, so maybe you have your questions already ready inside of a Google Sheet or a spreadsheet, which happens to be the next video in this series. Then you can just import your questions. You can add a title and a description if this is a particular section that you want, and it'll look similar to that up there. You can add an image to your question. You can add a video to your question, and you can also divide this up into sections. So let's say if you were given a math quiz, and let's say you were assessing your students on 3 different math standards, and you wanted to break the questions up according to standards, you could do that as well. For this basic quiz, we're just going to keep it simple and save all the extra things that you can do for our kind of pro and tip more advanced video. Okay, so in terms of question types, there are several different options you have here. Obviously in this box you would type the question. So let's say, you know, what is your teacher's favorite color? Okay. Now, by default, Google will kind of register the type of question this is, and then we'll give you a suggested type. So it started off as multiple choice before I put the question in, and then by default, it went to short answer. So if you want to leave an open-ended question, you can. I like to keep it simple because it is a multiple choice. Let's do 3 options. We're going to do purple, we're going to do green, we're going to do pink. Actually, let's make it 4 and yellow. Okay, so now you have your questions. You want to click on your answer key, and at this point, you will identify what the correct answer is. So it turned green. And then up here, you want to give your question some points. So let's say it's going to be 5 points. We want this to be 5 points. If you want to give any type of feedback to the students when they go back to check their answer, you can say, you can add stuff here, but again, we will keep this one simple. Do you want to, if you make a mistake, you want to delete this question, you can delete it. If you want to duplicate the question, you can duplicate it. Is this a required question? Yes, it's a quiz. So all of the questions are going to be required. Okay. And again, these would be, do you want to show a description, meaning you want to add more information to the question before students? Do you want, if you had sections, go to sections? Again, we're not going to utilize those. Okay. So that's my question number 1. Question number 2, maybe this is a short answer question. You can say, how long has your teacher been in this profession? Okay. Again, you can make it multiple choice. It can be short answer. You click on your answer key, and the correct answer you would put, and I'm going to say whatever the correct answer is. So I'm going to do 22 years. Okay, again, this is 5 points. Now, in order for the student to get the correct answer, maybe you want to adjust your question. So I'm going to take, like, I would take years out and just put 22. Okay, mark all other answers incorrect. That is right. Okay, and then done. But here I want to change it to how many years. So be very specific. Then our students know to just put in a numeric answer. So how many years has your teacher been in this profession? Okay, we know the correct answer is 22. Again, we want to make this required. This is a short answer. Okay. The next question, maybe it's a true or false. You can say your teacher also taught in economics class. Okay, and then you can do here. You can actually, you could make this a drop-down menu as well. And option 1 would be true. And then it gives you a suggestion, false. Okay, we want to go over here to our answer key, mark the correct answer, click done. I forgot to go back and put my points in, so I'm going to go back to answer key, go in and put in my points, then click done. Okay, let's say I wanted to give some kind of feedback, and you can say during her first year in education, your teacher was a long-term substitute. For an economics class. Okay. And again, get my spelling together. You can go ahead and save that and you press done. Again, it is a required question, so we want to make sure that we mark that. Okay, so we have now 3 out of the 5 questions done. let's say, let's do a fill in the blank type question. You can say, let's just think. Your teacher has a, and then you can do blank degree in education. Okay. Then you could do the options. You can do an associate of arts degree. You could do a bachelor of arts. You could do a master of arts. Okay. Go to your answer key. We want to say there's a master of arts, and don't forget your point. Okay, go ahead and click done. Don't forget to make it required. Okay, so now we have several different types of quiz questions you can put. So a multiple choice, a short answer, a short response, a true false, a fill in the blank. Okay, and then you could also do maybe an essay response. Okay, share an example of one lesson you have learned over the past week in this class. Okay, if you notice, it changed it here to a paragraph. It also changed this to long answer text. So when we go over here to our answer key, we just want to put our point, and you're going to click done. Okay, and basically once a student submits a response to there, then it will automatically award the points. If by chance you wanted to review their score before you give them those points, then in that setting where we said provide feedback immediately, we would then change that setting for the students. Okay, again, we want to make this required. Now that our sample quiz is done, we can go ahead and preview it. This is what our students would see. If you want to test it out, it's going to ask you for your email address. So you can go ahead and put your email address. You would do your answers. Let's say 5 years. We're just going to go with true. I learned to paint a flower. Okay. Teacher's favorite color. I'm going to say green. Okay. And then you would click, or your students would then click submit. Okay. Go ahead and view your score. And then it's going to show me I received 5 out of 25 points. It showed me what answers I got wrong. Okay, here's the correct answer. That's wrong. This is true. Painted a flower. Again, this has not been graded yet. Okay. And then what's your teacher's favorite color? All right. So that is what your students would view. And if you notice, it says right here, final score pending, because again, my teacher needs to go in and correct my my long response answer. Okay, but at least I know how I did so far. Go ahead and close out of that and return back to our sample, to our quiz. Now, if you notice up here, there are two tabs. One is questions, so these are all the quiz questions. And now that a student has submitted a response, I can see their response. Okay, and this will give you an overview. Great feedback for teacher, because it allows us to see that data really quickly and be able to then adjust our lesson according to the data. This is the summary response. So at a glance, if let's say I had 25 kids in my class, and while we were on our live class session, I posted the link to this quiz in that chat box and said, students, you have 10 minutes to complete this quiz. And while we are live, the students are actually completing the quiz. At the end of the 10 minutes, I can turn the quiz off. I can then come and look at the data. I can share this data immediately with students by sharing the screen. So those are some very powerful things that Google Form allows you to do. So right now, when I said I can turn that quiz off, this is accepting responses that's turned on. But if I say, okay, time's up for the quiz, all I have to do is turn that off, and it then will not allow students to submit anymore. If there's a notice that I want them to say, you can say, you know, time is up for this quiz. Okay, and they would see that if they tried to go in and submit the quiz. Okay, so that's a very good feature. The other thing is, let's say you have all this information and it looks great, but you want to go ahead and save it to a spreadsheet. So that's what this is right here. You're going to, a couple of options here. Number one, do you want to receive an email notification every time someone submits a response? And I like to do that. Let's say if it's not a timed quiz, let's say if I posted the quiz and said, hey guys, this quiz is due tomorrow by noon, but I want to go ahead and kind of be notified every time a student turns in their quiz, then I definitely would turn that on for me. But if you don't, you can just go back and uncheck that, okay? The other option is select the response destination. So by default, the responses are going to be collected in this side of the form, but I also want to have them to go to a spreadsheet. So I can, number one, create a new spreadsheet, or I could select an existing spreadsheet. So maybe you have a spreadsheet that says summer school quiz scores or summer school quiz data. And then you would want each quiz to be added to that. Then you would select an existing spreadsheet. But for now, we're going to create a new spreadsheet. Simply click create. It is now linked to my spreadsheet, and I'll show you how to get to that in a moment. Let's go back to looking at our responses. So at a glance, we can look at the points out of 25 points. How did our students do? Okay. So on average right now, because only one student has submitted, we're looking at the average number of students only received 5 out of 25. Okay. Then it also shows here the questions that were missed frequently. Great piece of feedback for teachers as you're planning, you know, your next lesson or your reteaching. That is here. It shows you the individual scores of the students. If I want to release the scores to students, I can. Because I had that checked, that the scores would be released upon completing the quiz, the student already received their score, but it's still pending because I have to grade that final question. And then it just goes through and shows you what the average responses were for each question. So again, very powerful feedback. Come back up here. It then shows me question by question what the students answered. Okay, and then it also shows me the individual students. Okay, so this is the one student that turned in their quiz already. I can look at it. I learned to play flower. Here I can add individual feedback here if I want to. And then I can go ahead and put in the grade. 4 or 5. Okay, I'm going to save that grade. And then now I can release this score to the student. They would receive an email saying this is your final score. When I go back then to my summary, you notice that it moved over. So now we have 10 out of the 25 points because it automatically updated that information for that particular question. Okay, so those are all really cool features for this. Now let me go ahead and show you where you can find the information in a spreadsheet. It automatically is going to save to your Google Drive. So I'm gonna just refresh my drive. Here is that quiz, okay, that we just created. When you open it, it's the exact same quiz, okay? So that is there. Here are the responses inside the spreadsheet. So when you open up the spreadsheet, this is what you see. Okay, the timestamp, this tells you what time the student completed and submitted their quiz. It tells you the date and the actual time, the email address, what that student's score was, and then here are the different questions. So what I like to do is go ahead and wrap the text so that I can see the entire question. Okay, and then you can see your student response. So this one obviously would be probably the longer response because the students would type a paragraph. And this is just so that I can view, I would take a look at their responses. Okay, and at a glance, you can then even look at this data, you can save it, you can share it, you know, when you have a conference with the student, if you have your office hours, you can go over, but this is great at a glance where you can look at it. Let's say you're planning with other teachers in your content area or maybe even your grade level, and you guys can look at the data. You can then create filters and all those things. We'll talk more about that in our next video that talks about using Google Sheets. But this is really good to have. You can share this information, you know, with different people that you may need to. And again, from here, you can go back to your quiz if you like to look at it more visually. You have that there. So this is just, you know, one example of how you can do it. Again, more advanced things, you can add actual video clips, images. For example, if it's math, maybe if it's science, you can do a short science video clip and then ask some follow-up questions. If it is English language arts and you want to add like maybe a reading passage, whatever the case may be, you could even add when you're creating this. For example, it says your teacher's favorite color, it's purple. Let's say you want to search for Google image search. We could say a purple circle. Okay, so there you have a purple circle. You can insert it there. And this is very helpful for if you have your English learners, if you have your students with disability. By adding this accommodation, it then levels the playing field, you know, for all students to be able to do that as well. So those are just some options. And again, what does that look like when the students go and preview it? Let's see. Well, because I have that option on, you can only do it once. So let me go ahead and just adjust my settings. There you go. I'm gonna just save that. Now when I preview, there you go. What's your teacher's favorite color? And there you can use the images as well. So imagine how great that would be. If it's English learner, you can also have the question maybe in Spanish using Google Translate. That way you make it more accessible for those students. So there's so many things that you can do with this. You can also use this for surveys. You can use it for signups. Like let's say if you're going to do a virtual field trip coming up and you have a couple different options, you can do a poll. You can have students sign up for the specific field trips, and then when it's time to do the virtual field trip, then you can only email those students, the information. There's so many amazing things that you can do with Google Forms, but the best part is if I'm ready to go ahead and share this quiz with students, let's say it's not a timed quiz and we are not doing it during our live session, all I have to do is just copy the link. I like to shorten it, okay? Click copy. And then I'm gonna just open up my Google Classroom. Okay, I'm gonna open up my art class. I'm gonna go over here to classwork. I am going to create. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. One, you can create a quiz assignment, or you can just create an assignment. Okay, I like to create an assignment because then I can set the due date. I can also schedule it to go live. So we're gonna say we caught this the sample quiz. Okay, you can add it directly from your Google Drive. There it is, sample quiz. Okay, over here, how many points? Well, we already know that it's 25 points. The due date, let's say it would be due tomorrow, let's say by noon. And the best thing here, oh, don't forget to decide, where does it fall? Where should it be posted? And here, instead of assigning it now, you can schedule it. So let's say I'm going to schedule it at 8 a.m. Then it will not show up on in their Google Classrooms until 8 a.m. And then the students know that they will have until 12 p.m. to complete the quiz. So you see how it works together with Google Classroom. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. Again, if you have any questions or need something clarified, please put it down in the comments and I will make sure that it gets covered in our next session. Our next session starts at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is 9 a.m. International. That will be 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And we will cover Google Sheets. And I'll show you some things that you can do with the information once students have submitted it through Google Forms and how you can use it in your professional practice in Google Sheets. So I will see you soon.